Okay, we'll go again. So Donal McAlister is my name. I'm the International Affairs Manager at the Institute of Technology Carlow. And as you can see from the screen, we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. We didn't have much of a celebration for obvious reasons, so maybe we can do that and mark it at some point in the next few months. And the reason that it's important to mention the next few months is that actually there's a process of consolidation taking place in Ireland right now, and a number of institutes of technology. There were originally 13 institutes of technology in Ireland. They are in the process of merger, a number of them, and we are too. We are in the process of merger with Waterford Institute of Technology. So the Institute of Technology Carlow and Waterford Institute of Technology will combine hopefully on the 1st of January next year, and we will form what's called a technological university, and the name of which still has to be decided, but the working title is the Technological University of the Southeast of Ireland. So IT Carlow, as it stands, is got 6 months left to exist, and then it will become this new entity. But in saying all of that, everything that I'm going to share with you, none of that changes. The programs will remain the same. The experience and all of that sort of stuff will remain the same. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not going to get into why study abroad. You guys are all experts at that, I hope. I've been working in this area for about 20 years, and for me, the great joy in the work that I do is bringing students to Ireland, seeing them get the overseas experience, and learning then, as I said, in 20 years of all of the experiences that they've had after leaving Carlow and the careers that they've had. And you know where they've ended up. We've had students end up all over the world. We've had Korean students end up working for Twitter in California. You know, all of those stories make my job what it is, and so you know, all of those reasons that are on the screen there, they're you know, I truly believe that that's the reason we do it. Why study in Ireland? I mean, for those of you who are not familiar with Ireland, we are now the major English-speaking country in the European Union. We have been for quite a number of years the European hub for quite a lot of multinational companies. We're particularly strong in IT. You name the company, they have their European headquarters or a major base here. You're talking about Facebook, Yahoo, LinkedIn, Intel, Apple. They're all here, and they're major employers and major contributors to the Irish economy. And despite COVID, they've all done very well in the online space. So that side of the Irish economy has actually boomed in the last year, and it will continue to grow. So we see ourselves as the Silicon Valley of Europe. Other areas that are very popular are pharmaceuticals. We would have major pharmaceutical presence here. I think 10 of the 11 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world would have a major presence in Ireland. So they would be big employers for our graduates. You know, and why do they come? Well, they come for a few reasons. We like to think it's just because we're fantastic at educating our graduates, which we are. But obviously, there's lots of other reasons. Access to Europe is a big one, but the tax base that we offer to multinationals is a big reason why they're here. So you may or may not be aware that students who emerge from Irish institutions, international students, are entitled to remain in Ireland. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that when I show you the structure of education in Ireland, so you can see how that will work. So that's this slide here. So basically, you know, I'll talk about this graphic first. What we have in Ireland is we have the National Framework of Qualifications, okay? So you can see it goes from 1 to 10. We are placed in the space between level 6 and level 10. Level 6 are certificate, 2-year certificate level programs. Level 7 are what used to be called diplomas. They're now called ordinary bachelor degrees. Level 8s are honours degrees. Level 9s are masters, and level 10s are PhDs. So we occupy that full range from 6 to 10. So we go right up to PhD level. Um, just in relation to what I was saying about students and graduates who can remain in Ireland, if you complete a level 8 qualification, you're entitled to stay in Ireland for 1 year post-graduation on a Stamp 1G visa. So that means obviously that you can use that time to look for work or whatever else it is that you want to do. If you complete a level 9, you can stay for 2 years. Okay, so if you complete a master's award, you can stay in Ireland for 2 years on the Stamp 1G, and that enables you then again to find work. Normally, students, as I mentioned earlier, who are looking for work, particularly in the pharma, med device, IT, they wouldn't need anything like that amount of time in order to find work. Some of them would find work very, very quickly indeed. Okay. In terms of the institutes, what's a bit different about us is because we started 50 years ago with 2-year programs, we were very much an applied space. We would have come from technician level training back at that time, and we've grown, but we've always maintained the ethos of applied and practical learning. So as a result of that, you'll find that our classrooms are probably smaller than you would find in traditional universities, a little bit more practically focused, 40% in the sciences, in engineering, 40% would be lab based or workshop based. But in saying that, any degree that we issue is the same level as any degree from any university in Ireland. Okay, so there's no difference, and as you can see it from the framework, we all fit into that framework. So you're talking about your Trinity colleges and your IT Carlows all fit into the exact same framework. So there's a lot of mobility. So for example, if you send a student to do a degree with us and they want to do a master's in another university in Ireland, there's no issue there. Once they have the level 8 award, they can go on to do a level 9 award. Okay. In terms of cost, an undergraduate program in Carlow is €10,250. So that's a little bit cheaper than some of the universities. Living costs are actually significantly lower. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. I've already told you about this slide actually needs to be updated now because the blue that where the UK is needs to be shaded a lighter grey because they've now left the European Union. But just to reiterate our place in Europe and our bridge between Europe and particularly North America and United States, we would be a major centre for US multinationals who see Ireland as a very natural base for them as an English-speaking country. And then Carlow, as you can see from the graphic, it's about 1 hour outside of Dublin. So it's quite close to Dublin, but it's not in Dublin, and that gives us some advantages. Obviously, students who want to be in a big metropolis, Carlow is not for them, but in terms of costs and things like that, Carlow is a very good choice for students. The cost of studying or living in Dublin is significantly higher, not just for students, but for anyone who wants to live in the capital. Okay. So hopefully you can hear this video. I'm going to play it. If there's any issues, maybe someone can let me know.
Now we have a visual but no sound. Donal? Unfortunately, we're not getting any sound on the video.
Okay, I think there's some issues with this sound for some
Yeah.
people, so maybe I'll just keep going if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So. Um, like I said earlier, Carlow is one hour from Dublin, but the accommodation costs can be significantly less. We have a number of dedicated student residences in Carlow, but they're privately owned. We don't have our own one. So you're talking about up to about 140, 150 euro per week, being the most that you would pay for accommodation in Carlow. But some students who choose to live in shared accommodation houses, etc., can pay as little as 80, 90 euro a week to live in Carlow. Okay, so what we say is, as a general rule of thumb, to live in Carlow for 1 year, you need to budget in the region of about 8,000 euro. So if you couple that with the cost of the tuition, which is about 10,000, you're talking about roughly 19,000 to cover you for a year living and studying in Carlow. Okay, it's a real college town. There's a population of about 25,000 here. So if you imagine that, then our full-time student population is about 5,000 students. That is a significant part of the town. So you'll find a lot of the facilities, etc., are really focused on the students. So what you have then is this college town vibe. And a really nice community for the students to live in. In terms of the airport, it's an hour away, as I said, in Dublin. So we actually collect all new students. It's a free service, so any new student coming for the first time doesn't have to worry about trying to figure out how to get to Carlow. We will pick them up. And in general, as I said, the experience of students is very positive. In various student surveys, and anecdotally, Carlow always ranks very highly in terms of a place for students to come study and live and socialise in. Okay. I'm not going to play any more videos because just in case we have any issues. But this was a student video, and just to say that I've shared this video with Kira. So by all means, Kira, you can share that with anyone who wishes to see these videos, etc. And these are all on YouTube as well. Okay. I mentioned 5,000 full-time, but we actually have a significant lifelong learning post evening cohort that comes in as well, so up to 4,000. When we combine with Waterford, we would be in the top 8 institutions in Ireland in terms of size. We will have almost 18,000 students. So some of these metrics are going to change quite dramatically. Also, we're growing in terms of research. We are trying to meet new metrics in terms of this new technological university. So we're welcoming more and more researchers to our institution. So if you do have students who are interested in research, you can please contact us and let us know what that area of interest might be. And between both institutions, we might have something of interest. Okay, and as I said, 1970 was our founding date. We were one of the first institutes in Ireland. We go right up to doctoral level. Lots of metrics there, 55,000 graduates and growing, 800 staff here on campus as well. Again, another video, which I won't or I'll let you look at later. In terms of the programs, we have a number of faculties here. So in business, at undergraduate level, you can see the range of programs there. It's quite comprehensive. So most of our international students would come into these programs here. Okay. We're very, very strong on sports programs. And in the sports media and marketing program, we would have very unique programs in soccer, in Gaelic sports, and in rugby. We do, for example, in the soccer, we do UEFA B license, coaching badges and things like that. And we would have had some professional soccer players, such as Robbie Keane, come to do that here. We also have pathways for people who want to do sports management programs as well. And we've a new program in digital marketing, which is proving to be quite popular with international students as well. Okay. Humanities, we're very strong on design and industrial design, so we have a very strong department in that area that teaches students how to conceptualize design ideas, and they could be anything from a watch to a chair to an industrial process. And the program will give the students the skill sets to, as I said, conceptualize the idea, create mock-ups, and to create marketing plans. So it gives them the A to Z of coming up with an idea and then selling that idea. Okay. We also have programs in early childhood education, social care practice, and we have a law degree as well, which is 3 years. So most of our programs at degree level would be 4 years, but we do have some programs such as early childhood education, bachelor law, that would be 3-year programs. Okay. We have a very good science department. Some of our older programs would be in strength and conditioning, sports and exercise science, and they would be the top programs in terms of local points to get into for local students. So very high demand. They're effectively physiotherapy type programs. So strength and conditioning, sports and exercise science, sports rehabilitation and athletic therapy. And that complements the sporting programs that I mentioned on the other side. So we have a lot of work that goes on between the science and health department and the sports media and marketing department in that regard. In the last few years, we've introduced quite a unique program, and it's to complement the growing industry in whiskey distilling in Ireland, which is our Bachelor of Science in Brewing and Distilling. So that's proven to be quite popular, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and we're getting a lot of international interest in that because it's one of only 4 programs that I'm aware of anywhere that looks at brewing and distilling in this scientific way. So we've had a lot of interest in that. And and then the biosciences and biopharmaceuticals, it's a very good route for students who want to enter into the pharma sector here. So a lot of our students in those programs would actually go on and do a master's or go on and do research up to PhD level. Okay. IT, we have huge success with the graduates from our IT programs. They are snapped up, and that is a factor of any college in Ireland that does IT programs. The oldest programs in that would be software development and IT management. And in more recent years, we've introduced computer games development. And to complement that program, we've just introduced a new computing and interactive digital art and design program. So you've got 2 strands. You've got the computer games development, and then you've got the interactive digital art, which is the more creative side of it, coming together. And then one that's been very popular, particularly with international students, is the cybercrime and IT security. So obviously that's a growing area of interest. So a lot of a big growth area for us has been that cybercrime program. So all of the graduates from any of these programs are being snapped up. Any student who wants to come to Ireland to do IT can be pretty sure that the investment that they're going to make in their education will be paid back fairly quickly because of the demand. Essentially, Irish education cannot keep up with the demand for graduates. So a lot of people are coming in from abroad to work in Ireland because we cannot produce enough graduates in this area. So, for example, in 3rd year in all of these programs, there will be work placements. And one of the challenges we have is getting the students to come back, complete their degrees, because the companies want to keep them. Okay. And then our engineering programs. So in the video, the very quiet video that you watched, we have an aerospace center here, which was built a number of years ago. So we run aerospace engineering programs. We also have an excellent electronic systems program, mechanical, TV and media production, civil architectural technology, and construction programs as well. So we have a wide range, and some of those programs, for example, in civil, we've been running almost since day one, since the day we opened. So we have fantastic experience and facilities in these areas. Okay, and just to mention, anything in our built environment, for whatever reason, demand locally for programs in civil, architectural, technology, quantity surveying has dropped. It could be a factor of the economy, it could be a factor of lots of things, but as a result of that, we actually have a 20% scholarship for anyone who wants to enter programs in our built environment area, okay? And then just to mention some of our masters, this is growing year by year, but we have a master's in business. We have a master's in science, the digital media and business analytics, supply chain, digital marketing, data science. We get a lot of interest in data science, and those students are all getting snapped up. And as I said, anyone who does these master's programs is entitled to a 2-year stamp 1G, it's called, visa, which allows them to remain in Ireland for a minimum of 2 years. They use that time then to get work, to get going on their career path. And once they get their first work permit, then they move on to the next track towards residency and all of that sort of stuff. In terms of our sports programs, you can continue into sports performance analysis, which is a very interesting area if that's what you're interested in. Pharma Reg Affairs is a great program. We get a lot of, particularly from India, a lot of students who want to do that program. Because it's a very nice link. 1 year, you do your masters, and then you're into the pharma sector here in Ireland. So there's a lot of interest in that as well. Okay. As I said, Carlow Town, everything. The college is situated on the edge of the town. Everything is within about 15 minutes walk. So you know. The student residences are even closer than that. So it's a very nice old college town. You can see the castle, the remains of the castle, and the centre of town effectively here. And the college will be to the right. Our institute will be to the right of that. In turn, that's an overhead shot of the institute, and you can see the centre of town there, very, very close. You can see on the top left and top right 2 new buildings, including one that I'll be moving into, that are going to start construction this year. So there's a constant investment in the institute and in the new technological university. So those 2 new buildings, the top left is our new science and engineering building, and the top right is our new administration building. So they're going to start construction this year. So the picture that you see, the main picture, if you look just slightly to the top of the main campus building, that field is essentially where those buildings will go. And then also in the video, there was mention of our sports campus. That picture there was taken last year. So that project has now been completed, and our new sports campus, which is located about 1 kilometre south of the main campus, is now complete, and that was a €20 million project. So that's very exciting. Okay. The website is there for anyone who wants to go and have a look at any of this stuff in more detail. Our international office section there is on the toolbar. You can go in there, you can see how to apply and all of that sort of stuff. Well, I mean, you'll be doing that through the Accelerate platform anyway. But there's a lot more information there if you need more detail on any of the programs. I see questions coming up, and I'm happy to answer those in a moment. And they're my contact details. I mean, as I said, everything will be going through your platform. But if there's anything that you're not clear about or you need more information on, very, very happy to answer those questions at any time. So that's my email address. And as I said, you can contact me at any stage to answer any questions. So I'll stop sharing my screen and This should have come up. Okay, so I'll take it. Can a student progress to direct master's programs? Yeah, the answer is if the undergraduate program is deemed to be the equivalent of what we call a level 8, the answer is yes. Do you have an add-on program for a student with a level 7? Yes. So within our programs, I go back to the beginning, the 50 years of experience. We had the 2-year programs, and we added 1 year, then we added another year. But built in still to those 4-year programs are exit awards. So you can still leave after 2 years. You can still leave after 3 years with either a certificate or a level 7 ordinary degree. But that also means that there's flexibility in people coming in. So we can either put you into the level 8 the final year if you have a level 7 degree. So that would be the pathway normally. We also have HDIP programs for students who want to change disciplines. So for example, if you have an engineering student and they want to do a master's in business, we can put them into a HDIP program in business for 1 year and then put them into the master's for the next year. They would have to have a degree in another area first for that, but there are different pathways and we're quite flexible. Are there any scholarship options for masters? Generally speaking, nothing major. There are up to €1,000 scholarships that we offer. Students should keep an eye out for other pathways to scholarship. For example, the Government of Ireland Scholarship Scheme, which is launched early every year around February. It's just concluded for this year. So you can get a full scholarship if you apply through that and you're selected. But there wouldn't be any major full scholarships available at the Institute. A lot of our master's programs are very heavily oversubscribed. So as a general rule of thumb, we don't see it as being overly necessary to give big scholarships. We have some pathways, but generally nothing major. Can a student from Arts Bachelor? Yeah, so again, that Arts Bachelor degree, if they do a HDIP in business, they can then convert then to do the Masters of Business program the following year. It will be a 2-year pathway. And it's all academic. And I won't get into the details of all the academic and English language requirements right now, but just suffice to say it's 5.5 IELTS or equivalent for undergraduate programs. It's 6.0 IELTS or equivalent for master's programs. We do accept Duolingo, but all of those details are on the website. So, for example, from India, there's a lot, we would need to see, go into quite a lot of detail about the different requirements for different courses. But we're happy to do that, at any point. It's just probably not appropriate to go into too much detail here. So the Pakistani students have the same requirements for English as everyone else, 5.5 or 6. We do accept Duolingo at the moment because of this COVID situation. We know a lot of IELTS centres have closed or aren't open at the moment. So for the last year, the visa authorities have accepted Duolingo. So it's 90 for undergraduate and it's 100 for postgraduate, and that's across the bands of Duolingo as well, and you can do that online. So I hope that answers the India question as well in terms of English language requirements. Major dates at the moment. It's just one intake at the moment, which is September. So we only accept students, generally speaking, in September. We are not really semesterized at the moment. We're moving towards semesterization. That may improve flexibility in terms of intakes, but at the moment it's just September annually. Is PTE acceptable? Yes. Again, if you go onto our website, you'll see a number of the accepted English language tests, and you'll see the scores that are required. Okay. So a couple of questions on intakes. So I think I've answered that. That's September. Admissions are still open for September, so we are still currently taking the September application, so there's no issue with that if somebody wishes to apply. Obviously, time is starting to become an issue because you need to have time to get the the application processed, and then have enough time to get all your documentation together for visa purposes and all of that sort of stuff, and then get the visa itself. So, there is no post-work permit for level 7 and 8. Yes, so level 8, I don't think there's one for level 7, but there is a 1 year. It's 1 year for level 8, which is the degree. The honours degree is a level 8, so you get a 1 year stay back. If you stay and complete your masters, you get a 2 year stay back. Is there any census state? I'm afraid I don't understand that question, Rupali. I don't know what census state means. I don't know if anyone has.
Yeah, it basically means that a certain date, even though the intake starts on a certain date, that there could be a bit of 2 weeks grace, and as long as a student starts within that time, there won't be a financial academic penalty.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, okay. That would be pretty much standard. We would accept students up to 3-4 weeks late, and there's no penalty. We just make sure that they have enough information to catch up. But yeah, we understand there's lots of reasons why students can get delayed. How much time for the offer letter to come? Generally, we try and get offer letters turned around within 10 working days. That's our aim. Max, sometimes quicker than that. Backlogs, very few backlogs. Literally only a handful of backlogs will be accepted for masters. In some cases, only 1 or 2 max. Okay, we're not fans of a lot of backlogs, particularly for the programs that the students are interested, because they're so heavily subscribed, particularly from India. We are quite strict on that. If someone has finished 4 years of pharmacy in India, can they get 1 year top up in honours? It just depends on the mapping of the program that they've done. If they're coming into the final year of our degree, we would just need to make sure that they have the prereqs to be able to complete the degree successfully. It could be, I think the pharma in India is a 5-year program, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm not sure why they wouldn't have completed their studies there. Maybe you can clarify that for me, because they could go on, if they have an honours degree in India, they can go on to study on the masters here without having to worry about topping up in honours. But they would need an IELTS 6.0 to get into that. Yeah, that's a great question. The 12th exams, that's a big one at the moment. So we're happy to take recommendations from the schools. We haven't really figured out exactly how we're going to deal with that, because that's only come out in the last couple of weeks, where those exams were postponed. But yeah, we will be flexible. So we may take the record of the students up to this current point in time with a recommendation from the school. But we will. The big question is how does the students complete that year 12 successfully? And that's something I haven't seen an answer to yet. I think in fairness, in India, they've got a lot of problems to deal with right now, and I don't know if that has actually been worked out yet. I guess a student will want to complete their high school studies in India, but we're flexible in that regard. We will take recommendations from the schools and some indication of the student's track record to give conditional offer. So the English language entry for masters, again, 6.0 or equivalent. Can a student more than 1 year? Yes. Yeah, well, we've no issue with that. 2-3 years is fine. Are there campus placements? Not on campus, but some of the programs, for example, I mentioned for example, on master's programs, there's no placements because they're only 1 year programs. So they're fairly intensive. So there's no work experience element of it. In relation to degree programs, some of the programs, yes, they do have internships. I mentioned the IT programs and trying to keep the students. So in third year, in business and IT, there are work placements involved in those. If someone has done work experience of pharmaceutical after senior secondary class, uh, so acceptable for, I need to be clear, Rupali, is it acceptable for entry into degree? I'm not sure what you want it to be acceptable for, so maybe if you just type that in. Admission deadline, we will take admissions up to the end of June, but obviously prefer to get them in from visa required countries a little bit as early as possible. So, but the end of June is normally our cutoff. One or two programs may have an interview, but in general, there is no interview required. It's just simply based on the application received. Okay, so there's no interview required. Okay. Hi. So anyone want to ask me anything else?
That was a really good run of questions there. Oh, I think we've got another one.
Yeah, I mean, in general terms, data science is it's a progression route for students with a degree in IT. So they need to show an honours level degree in IT with no backlogs or very few backlogs, and that's the standard that we would look for. You're very kind. Does the campus have a dorm? No, I mentioned earlier that we don't have our own accommodation, but we have lots of privately owned accommodation around us. So at the moment, that's sufficient for our needs. We've never had any issue with students finding accommodation. If that ever happens, then we may consider building our own. But we can link you to any number of accommodation providers. Again, on our website, there are links to accommodation providers. You can have a look at the range there, but we can also advise as well on that. Are we supposed to pay full year fees? If you're applying for a visa to Ireland, you need to show that you paid a minimum of €6,000. In effect, you're not far. You wouldn't be too far off paying full fees. So what we would say is you would need to pay your minimum for the visa before you apply for the visa, which is 6,000, but you would need to pay full fees in advance of actual registration with us. So if you're coming over, we'll give you pay the 6,000, we'll give you the offer letter, you get your visa, you can come over, but before you register, you would be expected to pay the balance of that fee. And when I say register, I mean in September you arrive, we register you on the day when your course starts. So come over here. I'm looking at the camera now. I have my presentation on my other screen. Okay. How soon should plenty of time for accommodation. So any student who wants to come to study in Ireland, so let me put it in this context. The Irish students get their high school results in August. So really anyone who's secured their accommodation or applied to get accommodation before that should be absolutely fine. There's plenty of time to do that. You can do that now. I hope I haven't missed that. What is the accommodation rate? There's no agents. You can contact the accommodation providers directly. And, for example, there's one that we send a lot of students who or recommend. It's called Hatch. If you look up IT Carlow, HATCH, you can see that as an example. And that's a very good one. It's right in the center of town. There are other ones as well. And then there's websites like daft.ie that will give you a sort of sense of rented accommodation that's available. So some students want to save money. They like to say, they like to share a house with friends or whatever it is. That can be a cheaper option for students if that's what they're looking for. So there's no agents as such. It's usually a direct contact with the provider. So the financial is not really for us, it's for the visa authorities. So we don't look for financials from the student. We just look for the payment of the fee. But the visa authorities will seek financials in order to determine that the student is appropriately funded to go abroad for a year and won't become any sort of burden on the state, if you like. So that's where that becomes important. But we don't look for that at all. We don't seek any financial information from the students at all. The health insurance question is a great question. We have links to a health insurance provider on our website. Up to this year, the cost of medical insurance, so there's two additional costs that students need to be aware of. One is the medical insurance. At the moment, it's about €150 for the year. However, there's a bit of a legal thing going on, and we're actually looking for a change in legislation to deal with it. But that could change the price of that, and I don't have detailed information on that at the moment, but it could up the price of medical insurance to €200–300. It's going to be a significant change, but we're fighting that in our government with the government at the moment to see if they can change the law. It's to do with residency, so we're trying to fight that at the moment. So there's plenty of providers out there. There's one on our website that we link to at the moment. Okay, you shouldn't buy your medical insurance until quite close to the time of your travel, so it's not something that you'd be booking and paying for right now. Okay, it would be something that if you got a place, you'd do it in August or something like that. And it's not part of the fee. The other thing that you need to be aware of is there's what we call an Irish residence permit. It's done with the local visa authorities, with the police. It's an IRP card, and every visa required student registers with the local police, and they pay €300 per year for this card. It's an identity card. It's their visa basically for the year in Ireland. So as you know, anyone who gets a visa from a visa office internationally, that's essentially a permission to land in a country. It's not the actual final visa to study. So you get a visa from the Irish visa office in Beijing or in Delhi or wherever it is, and that gives you permission to land. You're then permitted into the country, and then you have to register with the local authorities, and in doing so, we give you all the support letters. We help you set up those appointments. It's all straightforward, but you do have to pay a €300 fee for that card. Okay, so that's an annual fee. Part-time jobs, yeah, I mean, not a lot of part-time jobs at the moment. COVID has stopped a lot of the service industry. A lot of shops have been working basically, well, they've been closed, a lot of them, and non-essential, and then some have been reopening on the basis of click and collect. The government just this morning is announcing a roadmap over the summer to opening up the economy. So, but part-time jobs has been an issue for sure. And anyone who's relying on a part-time job in the next 12 months, just be aware, I mean, the economy is going to be very much in recovery mode, so it's very hard to see what way that's going to pan out for students. So any student who's coming needs to be fairly secure that they have the funds to do the course that they're coming on and not rely on getting a part-time job. Is there any application fee? There's a €50 application fee for postgraduate programs. There's no application fee for undergraduate programs. Okay. I think it's A-levels, O-levels, we don't take O-levels directly, so you would have to do some kind of foundation program. A-levels, it varies, but I think it's a BBC, something like that, entry requirements from A-level. But it will change from program to program, so we would deal with that in a sort of program by program basis. Okay. What is the graduate employability rate of the undergraduate students? Our general employment rate is about 95%, so it's very, very high. So there's greater employment rates for our students, and it's something I didn't mention earlier, but industry is heavily involved in the creation of our programs and the ongoing assessment of our programs. So they're always feeding back our annual mechanisms to say, look, this program isn't what we need, or we need to adjust this, or we need to whatever. So we're always tweaking things to make sure that we meet the needs of employers. And as a result of that, and I also mentioned the 40% practical side of things, where students, for example, in engineering or science, spend a lot of time doing hands-on work. And as a result of that, employers really like our graduates because they feel they're much more ready to work than, say, students coming out of some of the more traditional universities with much larger class sizes and much less hands-on experience. So it's a high rate of employability. Obviously, in business, it's a more challenging scenario to try and get that first job, but once you do, then great. In IT, in pharma, no issues at all. You'll get your first job very, very quickly. What about college? Okay, so Jitendra, as I said earlier, accommodation is available around us, but we don't have our own accommodation here, and there are links on our website to some of the accommodation providers. Ireland borders are open for Indian students. Great question. Just this week, as a result of the very unfortunate situation in India, I think India is going to be moved onto our designated list. And what that means is you would be subject to mandatory hotel quarantine, which is not great. I mean, it's something that you would need to book in advance. You would need to pay up to €1,500 to stay in a hotel. So it's not a runner for students to do that. So what we're hoping is that the system will change in the next 3 months. Either the mandatory hotel quarantine requirements for students will be different, and we're currently working on a protocol nationally to deal with that, or that India, obviously, we all hope the situation in India improves very quickly, and that you're removed from any list that requires that mandatory hotel quarantine. The current requirement for students who aren't on a mandatory hotel quarantine is that they will have to quarantine in their residence 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks. That can be shortened through a PCR test. But, it's difficult to answer this in a very definitive way because it seems to change week to week to week. And in 3 months' time, we could be looking at a very, very different scenario. But that's the current situation. So there would be an issue with an Indian student coming now, right, today. But there may not be an issue with an Indian student coming in September. So we will be flexible with students, by the way. If a student cannot travel for whatever reason, we will be completely flexible with them. If it's not possible for them to do their course online and they want a refund or whatever it is, no issue. We completely understand. So there's no risk to the student in paying a deposit, securing their place, and then finding out, oh, I can't get there for whatever reason. If that happens, we don't keep 1 cent. As a public institution, we're not interested in that. So that's a guarantee that I can make to you today. How much Master Data Science? So the master's programs are €11,250. Okay, 11,250 is the across the board price for all of our master's programs. So yeah, Angel, you're asking about the mode. That's a great question. I don't have a definitive answer, but essentially, what we're looking at is. We're hoping to go face-to-face. However, if we need to go blended for the first couple of months, we'll go blended. So I hope that answers that. Do you allow both online and bank payment transfer? Yeah. So just to be clear, we have an online payment partner, TransferMate. We're close to signing up with a second partner. I won't say the name just yet. I'm just waiting for some details to be figured out. But yeah, everything will be handled online, okay, in terms of payments. And students change the course. It depends, really. It depends on what they've done and what they've missed. And, we're always flexible with students. We have to be flexible with our own Irish students as well. There's nothing fixed about it, but you have to understand if you've done half a year of a course and then you want to change, it may not be simply easy to move to another course. It would have to be some matching of modules. However, if a student, for example, came in and said after a month or two, listen, this course is not what I wanted, whatever, we'd be very flexible in how we look at that. We would either defer the students for another year if we couldn't move them to another course. We'd refund the students, whatever. Well, we discuss it, but we always try and be flexible with students in terms of allowing them to change. It doesn't happen that often. Normally, students are very much aware of what they want to do and they're very clear on the modules. So it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, we like I said, we try and be as flexible as possible. Undergraduate tuition fees, so again, €10,250 undergrad, €11,250 for postgrad. Okay.
Donald, just being mindful of the time and how much you have given us and spoken to us, which we're so very grateful for. I think what we might do is wrap it up with only a few minutes left. We will put the presentation file, so the PDF file, onto IT Carlow campus landing page. We'll also put this recording on the campus landing page. I have taken a few notes. What we'll do is review the campus landing page and we'll make sure that we have links from your website, Donal, to make sure that we have all these really great accommodation questions. So we'll make sure that all the questions that have come up, that we have all these really important links in the campus landing page. So Kira may be in touch to make sure that we're linking it to the right spot. We also have an FAQ document on your campus landing page, so we can have a look at some of the questions that have been answered and put them on that FAQ document as well.
Okay, I'll just type in the IT Carlow. So that's the link there to that's our website there. Yeah, you'll see the international tab on the bar as well.
Right, so we can put some links from there. So just make sure everyone logs into the Accelerate portal, goes to, does a search in the search button, pop in IT Carlow, and then click on that and you can search for all information, prices, courses, and all the links. If there is something there that's important that is missing, please speak to your regional EduCo staff member and we can pop it all up there for you. And yes, we will share with everyone as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure. And I hope to work with you very closely. Very much looking forward to working with all of the EduCo network team over the next few years, and we'll see how we get on as both as IT Carlow and as a new technological university. So I wish everyone well and stay safe.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thanks, Donal. Bye.
Thank you.